let's talk a little bit about Alabama. Some major changes with the
Yeah.
Crimson Tide, most notably the exit of Nick Saban, who has entered into retirement. And every time I see him on TV in an interview, Darren, he seems to be doing so well.
Oh, absolutely. I think he's doing fantastic. I think he's already a part of the Sports Center crew. Is that not Sports Game Day is what I was
Mhm,
trying to say.
mhm.
I, I think that's going to be fantastic to have him as a part of that because you get to hear the mind that has done what he's done in college football break down college football. I mean, I don't know how it gets any better than that. He's going to be he's already fantastic and he's just going to continue to be fantastic.
Absolutely. But that creates a huge hole for the Alabama football program,
Teeny,
and
teeny.
they have filled it with Kalen DeBoer, who has basically won big everywhere he has ever been.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In all levels, all divisions.
And we talked a little in the offseason, Darren, the question, can that success translate over to the SEC? And we've heard the arguments. Well, Nick
Absolutely.
Saban, he's from Fairmont, West Virginia. He was at Michigan State, then came to
Mhm.
LSU.
Mhm.
He didn't have any SEC connections, and he made it work. So it's very possible with Kalen DeBoer's track record that Alabama may not miss too much of a beat, but
Yeah.
you're still, you can't expect to maintain the level because Saban set the bar so high.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You were talking about being at Floribama. I said that correct, didn't
Mhm.
I? We were in the panhandle of Florida a couple of weeks ago and had a little family trip vacation. And I actually ended up on one end of the pool with a family that was top to bottom. Dad, who by the way, by his name was Ray, super nice guy, all the way down to the grandchildren, had something on Alabama, t-shirt, hat, swimming trunks, something on Alabama. And so I sat there for a little bit and thought, well, I've at least got to ask. So what do you think about the new coach hire? And what kind of sent them over the edge of, okay, it's going to be okay, that's where they are right now, is what he was able to do in the transfer portal. So from one small sample of Alabama fans, they feel like that success in the portal is a indicator of future success to come in both, obviously in the portal, but also in continued recruiting. So I thought that was interesting. That was one of the first things they brought up when I asked them about it. So pretty interesting, but they seem to be comfortable because of that with the whole recruiting issue. Can he actually do it on that level?
And that's incredibly crucial. Even though
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Milroe is coming back, Alabama lost its top two running backs, its top
Absolutely.
three receivers, its top tight end. There are a lot of holes to fill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as you mentioned, DeBoer has gone the transfer route, which a lot of teams are doing these days
Oh,
to
absolutely.
meet immediate needs. When Brian Kelly, his first year at LSU, that was basically where he got his team from,
Yep.
the transfer portal. So the question is, aside from Jalen Milroe, Darren, who do you see anybody on offense that you're expecting to really step up in a big way this year?
I tell you who has to step up in a big way, and I think they've done some good things, is the offensive line unit. Because obviously, I mean, when you look at receiver, it does not matter if you're talking about wide receiver, slot receiver, or as far as like a wide out or a slot receiver, a tight end, there are deficiencies as far as people leaving all the way across from look at it from any position. You're looking at basically starting over, and with that being the case, you've got a veteran quarterback, so you got to have an offensive line that can protect him and give him the opportunity to either get out and make the defense miss, which adds an element, or give him time to, as the old football lingo is, throw the wide receiver open, to be able to get to a spot where you can see something, the receiver can see him, and he throws him open. He gets it into a spot where only the receiver can catch it. I think that has to be the secret sauce to what they do on offense this year, is that offensive line providing that protection to let him do what he can do and even advance of what he can do, because that will even help the offensive line when you think about running lanes and stuff like that. If you can create that kind of momentum and that kind of space with your offense and then protecting Jalen Milroe, that kind of opens up everything. So I think that the piece has to be offensive line, because I mean, offense is the $1 million question.
Yeah,
for them.
Certainly, the game's won in the trenches, and on the
Mm-hmm.
defensive side of the ball, Alabama, I think, is losing 3 out of the front 7 or so.
Mm-hmm.
They're losing a lot of in the
In the
secondary as
secondary, yeah,
well.
yeah.
So there's a lot of places they're going to have to gaps they're going to have to fill. They're unfortunately, Darren, for us, Dallas Turner is gone, so we're
Mm-hmm.
going to have to find some other defensive lineman from Alabama to pick on this year.
Somebody's going to have to agitate us. I don't know who,
Well,
but somebody's going to have to agitate us. I tell you, another component of that defense is the fact that they're switching schemes.
mm-hmm.
They brought in the new defensive coordinator, Kane Womack, if I'm saying that correctly, and he's known for building great defenses, but it's a 4-2-5, kind of that hybrid where you've got they're called like stars, or elephant trunk, whatever they're going to use, where you've got a guy that can play on the D line, is like an edge guy, but can also pop back into a linebacker. You've got another guy that can cover as like a strong safety, but can also pop up as a linebacker. And those are crucial pieces and not easily trained and built. So that's going to be another piece to see what they can do defensively with that kind of a scheme change, because all of these guys were brought in because they knew the kind of defense that Nick Saban liked to run, which was a much more traditional look than this 4-2-5 is.
Yeah, a lot of big changes. Darren, my gut tells me that Alabama is going to be fine.
Right.
They're still going to be a force to be reckoned with. They're still
Absolutely.
very much in the mix, especially with the playoffs going to 12 teams. I think Alabama will be right in the mix of that 12-team playoff. So a lot of cause for optimism among Crimson Tide fans, but yet with the major transition of who we have argued and said before is the greatest college football coach of all time, Nick Saban leaving, those are just massive shoes
Yeah,
to fill.
absolutely.
And we'll see how things go in Tuscaloosa this year.
That's right.
Let's look at their schedule first before we leave the great state of
There you
Alabama.
go.
They're going to start off with Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. So that's a good initial game for DeBoer. Then University of South Florida. Oh, that's a second good one, even though they kind of gave them a battle.
I was to say that did not go as they had planned last year, but I mean, still won, but still.
And then they'll go up to Wisconsin to face Luke Fickell's Wisconsin Badgers. They got a week off to prepare for Georgia in one of the most anticipated games of the early part of the college football season. Then they're going to have a slugfest with the Vanderbilt Commodores. How's that football stadium coming along, Darren?
They put like 3 chairs in one of the end zones. We're good. We're good.
Okay. Is the crane going to be holding up the scoreboard again this year?
No, they attached a big steel pole to the middle chair, and that's what they're going to put. That's what they're going to put the scoreboard on. So
they'll have South Carolina at home after that. Then a big matchup as they go to Knoxville to face Tennessee. And they don't really get much of a drop off after that. They have Missouri, then a week off. And then they go down to Baton Rouge to face LSU, and then they get a break with Mercer. They have to go to Norman this year, and then of course they end with the Iron Bowl against Auburn. So that's a pretty tough schedule, Darren.
That kind of back, not really third, but when you look at Tennessee, Missouri, LSU, Mercer obviously is a different conversation, but Oklahoma, that's a tough. They're going to be very, very thankful for Mercer in the middle of that stretch, because that's tough. And honestly, I mean, we'll talk about South Carolina later, but having Vanderbilt and South Carolina coming off of Georgia to kind of probably give you some space to prepare for the run you're about to go on. I mean, it sets up pretty well as far as the spacing of the schedule, but man, that's a tough stretch. That is a murderer's row kind of thing. If you've got if you've got deficiencies that can be made obvious, they're going to show up when you're on that kind of run, because whatever Missouri shows that you're weak at, LSU will destroy it. And then on top of that, then you come in and you got Oklahoma. And when you have the defensive concerns that we've talked about facing what we think Oklahoma's offense is going to look like, that could be a tough little stretch.
It will be. It will be.
Yep.
So we'll big challenges for Kalen DeBoer in his first year
Yeah,
at the helm of the Crimson Tide.